The entire universe flows in cycles. You're no different. If you know the cycle you're in, you'll know what to expect. In this conversation, you'll find out how important cycles are in your life. Hello, Lord, and welcome back. How have you been in this early stage of the 9 year?
I am fine, Miss Kimberly, for the first month into the year with 11 more to go after this.
Is it just me, or does it seem like January is just going by so fast?
Well, I think it is because, when you're very busy, time flies. When you enjoy yourself, time flies. So, because I've entered this year, in fact, this is the most busiest of the seasons, always around November, December, January, especially February. After that, after March, it's like Lloyd who. Over and above that, it's like, okay, what's up for the year? So just before we come into the year, people want to know, well, what's coming up? And then when we step on the other side of the new year that we're in now, it's like, okay, so what's up for this year? What's up, it's just curiosity. So normally that's my 4 month period: November, December, January, February. So it's very busy, and that's what makes time go by very fast for me.
I think people during that point are just doing what they can to make
Not
it
only,
through to to the
not only
Christmas
that, but don't forget
season.
it's the holidays: Thanksgiving in November, Christmas in December, New Year's, and then you've got the uh, Martin Luther King holiday. Then February is Valentine's Day, so it's kind of busy. It's kind of busy.
Yeah, it has been. So the question I have for you is, during the beginning, in the introduction, I stated that the universe flows in cycles.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I feel like those cycles are important for us, but you're the expert. So I want to ask you, why are cycles so important to us?
Well, I think they're important because in every phase of life, whether it's fruits or vegetations or trees or whatever, they're all cycles, especially the cycles of the seasons. It's spring, beginning of life. It's summer when you're at your height. It's fall when you reach the level of maturity. And then it is winter when you reach that stages where you begin to look over your life. So even in numerology, there are life cycles that deals with the earlier part of your life, the middle part of your life, the latter part of your life. And these cycles is what helps. So, for example, if you talk to a youngster who is, let's say, 7, 8 years old, time goes by very slowly, especially holidays like they're looking for Christmas or other things like that. Their birthdays seem forever. Well, if you talk to a person in the middle part of their life, time definitely goes by faster. And then when you talk to a person in the latter part of their life, their thing wasn't Christmas just a couple of months ago? So we look at things in a kind of in a different perspective. And our life goes like that too. We all have a summer in our lives, a winter in our lives, a spring and a fall. It's just, and it's every year, every year. I think for women, they're more conscious because they have a monthly cycle. They call it when on-flow comes and look. They're always looking for on-flow. Okay. So, but that's a cycle. And in this, we have our ebbs and lows, and so everybody gets a turn. No one escapes. No one escapes. We're very youthful. Our bones are rubbery. Then we get that middle part of life in the summer where we're very strong and muscular and all this other stuff. And then we reach that fall where now we reach the levels of maturity. We're thinking about up the road of life, about, okay, so we establish our security, investments, and savings and stuff like that. And then we get to the harvest where we begin to retire. We then look to see where we're going to go, how it's going to end, how the sun is going to set, and things like that. We all go through this. Every single human being that has walked this planet, no one escapes this. It's just understanding what the cycle is so you can be in the right place at the right time in harmony with the universe.
Well, I do agree with you, what you said about the fact that when we are little, we're ready for Christmas. And it seems like, Christmas is like taking a long time because
Hmm.
we're so excited about it. But then as you get older, and it's not just Christmas because I know everybody doesn't observe the holiday, but when you get older, those things that you were so patiently waiting on comes around so fast, just like how we just talked about this first month of the year. It's like it's going by so fast, but perhaps if we were younger and still in school, this first month would
Take
just be
forever.
so slow. Yeah.
Yeah, take
Yeah.
forever. And then we go through other stages. So after that, then as we mature, like junior high, young adults, we start having boyfriend, girlfriends. We begin to develop our friends and whatnot. Then we get to another level in that productive or middle part of life where now we pick and choose our mates. We commit ourselves to a marriage or living relationship. From that, they are our offsprings. So it's always something. It's always where life is ever evolving, and then we eventually come to our sunset. So it's what we do from sunrise to sunset that makes the difference. You know what I'm saying? But everybody goes through it. Every single person, our parents, our foreparents, the ancestors, and we've got this thing. It's so interesting because in this culture, they got you thinking you're going to live forever. Nobody lives forever. No one leaves this earth alive. No one. The only thing that maybe medicines and whatnot will do is maybe extend life or make life more comfortable. But everybody must expire at some point. I was so disappointed when I found that out. But I was a kid then, you know what I'm saying? And so when you're a kid, you think you live forever. So then when you reach a certain point of reality, it's how you prepare during that productive cycle, going into the fall, leading into the winter. But when your baby's born that springtime, they all over the place. They so bubbly, happy. It's a different stage that we go through. It's just, and everybody goes through it.
And there's plenty of energy in that beginning cycle, huh?
Oh yeah, all over the place, all over the place. And but as it is, because I think part of the challenge is with us adults when we reach adulthood that we forget when we were children. So this is why I always tell a client or my audience that if you have a living parent, try to find out what kind of child were you. I was kind of a rambunctious child from what I was told. I don't believe it, but that's what they said. You know what I'm saying? But we all have some story about our lives, and actually it's those formative years, those early years that begin to shape the direction that we take as we reach adulthood and latter part of life. So it's just a matter of the influence of our upbringing is tremendous. But we all, regardless of whether we have a family, don't have a family, this, that, and the other, we will all go through various seasonal stages in life. There are no exceptions. It's just how we deal with it or how we meet those challenges, and of course the high roads and milestones.
If you had to say that there is a most important cycle or one cycle that we should focus on more than any others, which cycle would you say that is?
I would say that would be the summer cycle. That would be that part that we reach that level of maturity, the first Saturn return, when we reach between 21 and 28, where by that time now we're looking for, some people are looking for a job, but a lot of people are looking for what kind of career can I pursue? What kind of imprint can I make on this planet? What do I want to be going into professional, establishing whether you want a job, whether you want a profession, whether you want a career? There's a big difference of the three. So for a person with a job, it's just 9 to 5, they're just getting paid. Then when you look for a professional person, they says, okay, I want to be in a level of expertise, a lawyer or a doctor or a scientist. And then when you have a career, you have a person that dedicate their whole life to a certain field of endeavor. So there are different stages that we go through. And so most of us start with, you better get that job at the local fast food store, okay, as teenagers. But then there are those who decide that I want to do better than this, that I just don't want a 9 to 5. I want to make an impact, not only on themselves, but on their community and the world at large too. So there are various stages. That's why they call it a job, a career, a profession, because there are various stages of it. Isn't that interesting?
Yes, it is interesting. Another thing that's interesting to me, when you talk about these cycles changing, and the first one, you can expect that change maybe at the age of 21 years old. But does that mean that we're constantly changing throughout our lives? Is
Oh,
that
yeah.
the purpose?
Yes, and that is so. That question is more important than you realize because we think we're an adult and we know everything, but life is always a constant change. So, okay, so we grow up, we look beautiful, or whatever the case is. We reach a level of maturity and height and stuff like that. But then there's internal growth through life's experiences, through ups and downs, through trials and tribulations that we go through. And this is what then begins to internalize and create who we become as we go into the world of adulthood and beyond that. As a kid, we just all over the place. We wanted to do everything, fly a plane, jump out of this, that, and the other. But when you reach a level, certain level, and I say that starts probably after the 28th birthday, when you get more serious, when you start hitting those 30s, 40s, 50s, and beyond, because by that time, in theory, hopefully one should be well established in terms of which direction they want to take. And then there's some unfortunate that never finds their way. But we all have a direction if we know what to do. So people will say, well, so and so was in the wrong place at the wrong time. And part of what I do, started my Power series on January the 21st on Tuesday at 7 p.m., talking about the numerical cycles, is how to be in the right place at the right time in harmony with the universe. Yes. And very rarely do people ask me about their lucky numbers, but don't ask me what numbers are stressed. But these are the things that help a person and shape their lives. So there's always mostly summer in their life, that there are more sunny days than cloudy or rainy or stormy days because the sun doesn't come out every day. But it's nice to know when it does come and your sun in life comes out, when to take full advantage to the maximum degree.
I agree with that. And speaking of, there are other cycles that I want to ask you a question about too. And those are the cycles that we experience every year. We've been very much focused on the universal cycle because we know that everybody in the universe or everything in the universe is going to be affected by the universal cycle. But some cycles are a little more personal. And
Mhm.
so now I want to ask you about the more personal cycles. Like we have our universal forecast. What other cycles can we expect in our personal lives while this universal cycle is going on?
Since you mentioned universal, for those who may be new at this or seeing it for the first time, universal means the year in question. So since we're now in 2025, when you add those four numbers, 2 plus 0 plus 2 plus 5 equals 9. That is therefore considered a universal cycle, which means no matter what part of the human family you come from, your religion, your ethnicity, your financial status or whatever, everyone to a larger or greater degree will be affected by this universal cycle. However, as you rightly asked, where people say, well, later for the world, what about me? Because most people are always, what about me? Okay, I understand it for the world, but what about Lloyd? Well, there's a technique where you take the month and date of birth you were born, but instead of adding the year you were born, that determines the reason why you're here, which is what I'll be discussing in my lecture. It is, what cycle am I transiting now for this particular year? So it's very easy. You take the month and day of that person, but instead of including the year they were born, you substitute it and put in the year you want to know about, which is this year right now, 2025. the beautiful part about this technique is, let's say you got married, someone got married, then what cycle was I in? Okay, I remember when I got my first breaking career in my career. What cycle was that? I remember when my child was born. Or what cycle was that I should have stayed under a rock all year long? Okay, then you add that year and you determine it. So, for example, if I took somebody born August the 22nd and added the year 2025, they happen to be in a 3 personal year. Well, each cycle year is symbolic of something that should be done. Cycle of opportunities, cycles of people we meet, cycles of ways of thinking and doing, and even some health tendencies and whatnot. It's absolutely fascinating. So we all have seasons, and every single year we're going through seasons. And not only that, it's broken into the months as well, the weeks and the days as well too. I mean, it's like the never-ending story, and this is why I'm so fascinated. So let's say somebody, if they add their month and day of birth, and I'm just going to capsule it to the present year of 2025, and they happen to be in 1 year. This is a good year where they start a brand new 9 year cycle. This is a year where they carve out what is in their best interest, not about so much what others want of them, but so much as what they want of themselves. And it sets a tone because whatever you start will last in that direction for the next 9 years. Goals, careers, objectives, etc. Let's say when a person add their month and date of birth to this year of 2025 and they happen to be in a 2 personal year, this is a year of peace. This is a year where you have makeups and breakups. This is I call it a transitional year, whereby you take your time and you begin to mend fences where possible, or there may be some times where you may have to separate, but it's a partnership cycle. It's a cycle of nurturing, a cycle of companionship, a cycle of compassion, those kinds of things. And it tells one to take their sweet time, not to rush through things. Let's say you got another person who is in a 3 personal year for 2025. Well, three is a busy number. They're all over the place. It's three is ruled by, and each number rules a planet. So one cycle rules the sun. If you're in a 2 cycle, it rules the moon. But when you're in a 3 cycle, like the example I'm giving right this minute, it's a Jupiter cycle, which denotes that things begin to blossom. They begin to see the fruits of their labor. They begin to see, they break above the ground to meet the sun's sunlight, so to speak. And with it comes, and Jupiter's always been associated with good luck and things of that nature. And things begin to expand. So let's say a person's month day, when they add it to the year 2025, adds up to a 4. That means this is the year to have a sense of purpose, a sense of direction, a sense of order, a blueprint, as it were. So they know how to go from point A to point B to point C, point C to point D. But they know where they're going. Being in a helter-skelter fashion doesn't work. Now, let's say you got another person who happened from their month and day when you added the 2025 is in a 5 personal year. And by the way, the 4, that rules the planet of Uranus, the odd and unusual and unexpected. So then if you got another person that's in a 5 personal year, when you take their month and day and add it to this year, and it rules communications, it rules variety, it rules movement and travel and motion and communications in all of its form, from writing and public speaking, whatever the case is. And it always denotes change. And especially those under the signs of Gemini and Virgo or 5s, they will notice that there's always a change that takes place every 4.5 to 5 years with a relationship, with a residence, or whatever the case may be. So let's say you got somebody whose month and date of birth added to 2025 adds up to a 6. I call this personally the romance and finance cycle. Makeups, breakups, love, marriage, separation, divorce, births, pregnancies, and on the financial side, recognition, acknowledgments for a job well done, compensation for things that have was denied them. But it is a time where everything comes together in terms of unity. It fits the person's personal appearance, education. They become a work in progress, so to speak, and is ruled by the planet Venus. So let's say you got somebody, when you add their month and date of birth, they happen to be in a 7 personal year. Well, this is ruled by Neptune and the moon. And actually, when a person goes into a 7 cycle, they want to step away from the world. They want to kind of like get into themselves. They want to kind of get to know themselves better. Oftentimes, when we go back into a house of worship of their choice, some become born again Christians. Some go to psychic fairs or get readings from an astrologer or a numerologist or an astro numerologist, but they're looking for something deeper that goes beyond the 5 physical senses that we know in this physical world. Let's say you have somebody whose month and day adds up when you add include it to 2025 adds up to an 8. This is considered the power cycle. This is the cycle of the ancestors. This is the cycle where one comes of age. They do a lot of growing up, but it represents doing something on a grand scale, especially in the material world. So where the 6th cycle rules romance and finance, the 8th cycle rules finance, then romance, and it is governed by the planet Saturn. Okay, and so it just makes one make some major moves. This is one get awards and recognition and prizes for accomplishments of a job well done, and also reconnect with ancestors, like through funerals, through weddings, through christenings, through the birth of children, whatever the case is, where people come together. Then let's say you've got somebody whose month and date of birth added to the 2025 year adds up to a 9. Well, this is a cycle where you need to, as they say, wrap things up. It is a cycle of closure. It is a cycle of endings and terminations. It is a cycle where you let water go under the bridge, let bygones be bygones. It is governed by the planet Mars, so one takes action, they take initiative to really move forward in things that really makes a difference of cleaning house. Okay, that's very important. Now, let's say your month and date of birth added to the year adds up to the master number 11. Well, that means to raise your consciousness, to raise your sights, to begin to focus on a very high level as much as you can possibly do it, to take that to another level. So you have a certain consciousness. And see, the master number 11, although it would add to a 2, plus 1 plus 1 is 2, it governs those under the sign of Leo, and it governs the sun. And so, therefore, they're more visionary in their projection, more visionary how they carry out their affairs. And it also means things taking levels of and this is when people come up with these concepts. They'll be standing on a corner. All of a sudden, they get this flash of inspiration that brings about a transformation in their lives that move this world forward. Let's say you got another person whose month and day added to this year, 2025, governs the master number 22. Well, that governs the planet of Uranus, since 2 plus 2 is 4. That is referred to as the master builder, where, sometimes we have these ideas, but now they want to put it into some concrete form where it's touchable, tangible, where you can examine it physically in the physical world. It manifests things to that level. And it means focusing and working on a very high consciousness. Okay. So it's not just a 4, it's 4 elevated to the master number 22, which gives you this more visionary kind of energy. Just like this is why 11 and 22 are so intertwined with each other, because they're both visionary. So where the 11 comes up with those ideas from on high, it is the master number 22 that take those ideas and transpose them into something that's concrete and tangible that people can see and examine in the physical world.
Wow, that's amazing. What stood out to me is that there are master number cycles as well.
Yes, they don't come often, but when they do come, it means it's a very special time for a special endeavors, special projects, special plans. But they rarely come. But when they do come, so for example, if you got it, and it all depends on the attitude of the person. So let's say you got a person that's in the 11 personal year, but they're only living it in a 2, which means they just prod along. Things are iffy and up in the air. There's a lot of uncertainty around. But in 11, it means like later for uncertainty, you do what you got to do. You use vision. Don't forget, the master number is 11 is backed up by 2 1s. These are the initiators. These are the Leo numbers. These are the fire numbers. How dare you just sit around and blow this year? I mean, are you serious? You don't do that. And especially when you know these things. And what I'll do in my class is I'll show people how to find their personal year if it's a master number 11, or their whether their month, day, and year of birth, which is called the destiny number, which I like to refer to what grade you're in the school of life. Are they a master number, whatever? There are all kinds of ways that people run up with it, but after decades of doing this and writing books on the subject, I have a way that I feel very comfortable that seems to work, and that is what I'm going to teach people in my lecture on Tuesday the 21st.
So my next question is, what if someone was listening to this and because of the fact that you told us how to find that personal year cycle and they discover what year they're in this year and they want to know more about how they can navigate this year, what would you advise them to do?
Well, I advise them that that's just the tip of the iceberg because each cycle presents a theme. It talks about your actions, it talks about your health, it talks about your career, it talks about travel. There are different phases in each of these cycles. And along these ways, these cycles, you have months that relates to love, you have months that relates to travel, you have months that relate to jobs or careers or health, as well as money and career. So there's a lot to it. So that's just the tip of the iceberg. The kinds of people who will be drawn into your life to help you in those stages in that cycle you're in, by not only by their zodiac signs as well as or their dates of birth as well. So, for example, when I was giving out the 3 cycle, right, it tells me that those in the months of March and December are likely to help all people born on the 3rd, 12th, 21st, or 30th of the month. And it's not just them, it could be others, but they may play a prominent part. And people always think it's a loved one, it could be a neighbor, it could be somebody that helps you move to another level. But so you have to be open because help comes in all forms, shapes, and sizes in all directions sometime when you least expect it. So it's just being open. Good questions.
Thank you. So I want to ask you at this time to go into detail about what you will be offering on the 21st in the
Well,
Power Series.
well, in the Power Series, I'm going to be offering a couple of things. I'm going to be describing what seasons you are in. And not only that, in the various stages, what stage are you in life? Most of the people, I guess, who will be in attendance will be in what is called their productive cycle between 28 to about 54. Okay. Some might be a little sooner than that. Some may be a little after that. But for the most part, most people will be in the most, what they call productive cycle, where you're at that point in life where now you're about building something, building whether it's with a family, building whether it's with a career, objectives, goals, or things of that nature. Not only that, but then how to time these, how to be in the right place at the right time with these cycles, to not just know what cycle you're in, but what are your best numbers to help you during those days. So, for example, when we get back to our example of August 22nd, for example, well, once you know their numbers, because everybody is assigned a special number. In this case, this example, their numbers would be the 4, the 1, and the 5. And yes, part of my Power Series is help everyone determine their cycles. Then each cycle I call angel numbers, and these angel numbers are assigned to angelic days. So I could tell this person, well, that your best days would be Sunday, Monday, and Wednesday, primarily for the things you need to get done to go your way. Don't forget, everybody has their own timing. This is why we all don't go to bed at the same time, get up at the same time, eat at the same time, wash up at the same time. You know what I'm saying? So once they understand that individual cycle, because people are often caught up into, well, how come you don't do it like me? Well, they don't have the same energy as you. There may be similarities, maybe if you got somebody born August 13th or August 22nd, maybe similarities. But even then, if you look at it, 13 is composed of a 1 and a 3, and 22 is composed of a 2 and a 2. So that will shape these are kind of nuances. And so there's a lot to it. And then how these are determined. And not only just your yearly cycle, but then there are cycles within the yearly cycle, such as your monthly cycles, your weekly cycles, your daily cycles, that helps you even fine tune when to make your moves with success. I mean, that's what makes this so amazing. That's why I developed the numerology app for the person's phone, a star 8 that's available on Android and Apple, so people can do this. And then what's important too is the ages and years of important changes. This is, we all go through cycles. And one of them is determining. So a person that I gave, I know that all the time the ages from say 10, 13, 14, 19, 22, 23, 28, 31, 32, 37. In other words, each of those ages I just named adds up to this person's key numbers of the 1, the 4, and the 5. And they will find that, yes, at that age I got married. Yes, at that age I had my child. Yes, at this age I did this. There are no exceptions. That's the beautiful part about the Most High. He don't leave nobody out. And you would think that they would teach something like this in the public school system. But no, they want people in the dark. Why? So you can make your life better. By being in the right place at the right time, it saves you a lot of wear and tear on your mind, your body, your pocketbook, your spirit, and a whole lot more. And so, yes, so people say, well, if I'm in the wrong place at the wrong time, but being in the right place at the right time, not only that, but then there are decades too. So if you got a person that's a 4, I know their 40s are going to be important. If a person's a 3, their 30s are going to be important. So the decades go from minute to huge, you know? So it's interesting. So when you take the month, the day, and the year of the person, that tells me the long journey that you're taking over the period of time from, they say, from the womb to the tomb, or from sunrise to sunset. But then there are more, the immediate ones that come from the date of birth, that tells you your days, your dates, your months, your years, your ages, and other milestones of achievement. When you drove that car, when you got married, when you had your first child. So all of these things represent these kinds of cycles. And then what are the cycles of my health? What are the cycles that affect my career and money, relationships and travel and things of that nature? We all go through these things. Um, when I read a person recently, most people, when you read them, want to know about relationships and money, or money and relationship. Those are always jockeying for 1 and 2. Okay. Every now and then about the health, yes, about some travel, but 9 times out of 10, but this is the world we live in. We live in a very materialistic world, as they call it now, chasing the bag, wherever that came from. Uh, and then, all the money. And then we live in a world about relationships, boyfriend, girlfriend, husband, wives, relationships of all kinds. But these are the things I'll teach you so a person can know, well, what cycle am I in, how to take advantage of that cycle, and look, and all depending on the area they're looking for. Somebody's love life could be straight, but their money is tacky, or the money is tacky. You know what I'm saying? The relationship is okay, but so it's all kinds of things that we may look for, and this helps you find your way. And at least it beats being in the dark. It beats not knowing, and at least you got an idea so you can prepare, especially when you know what your best days are, so you can prepare that these are the days. What day should I go on an interview according to my days, not this person's days? Because don't forget, we all have our own individual energies, and once you understand that, it makes all the sense in the world. And that's what my class is about, my power series starting on January the 21st.
A question about that. So, does the person need to come in or attend already knowing numerology?
Not
Or,
at all. Not at all. The less they know, the better, because that way they come with an open mind. But however, on the other hand, to have that knowledge is even better too, because they will understand it. And perhaps in the discussion of these cycles, it will help them understand clearly, oh, that's what I mean, and add to it. So really, I have the best of both worlds, the uninitiative as well as the initiative. So it's really nice. It's really nice. I look forward to, and the classes are very affordable. And also I'll make recordings of the class available too for those that may have missed it. But you need to come out and get it fresh and to the point.
I'll be there. But once again, I'm going to ask you all to support Lloyd in the Power Series. The very first lecture is taking place on the 21st of January. That's coming right up this week, coming up. And it's going to be about the power of your numerical cycle. Everybody really needs to be in this class because knowing about your cycles will help you. Because when I look back at some of my cycles right now, I think to myself, boy, if I only knew then what I know now. So you'd be amazed and shocked at how much you can do with your cycle, whether it's growing in different levels or whether it's letting things go and knowing when to move forward in life. So make sure that you check that out so that you can be in the right place at the right time. You can click right there on the QR code to attend and make sure that you're coming out to support. You know, you won't be disappointed. You have one of the best teachers in the world,
And they
especially
will
with
be allowed to ask questions after we finish. And that day, January the 21st of 2025 will be a universal day. A day for order, a day to plan, a day for blueprint, a day for Aquarians and Leos, which is me and you. Not that the class is for me and you, but the point is that it is designed to get people to understand themselves. Because people can run from people, but they can't run from themselves. So, to thine own self be true by knowing who you are, understanding your cycles, but then see, it's not just you, it's about understanding the people that are significant in your life, a mate, a child, a friend, a relative, a mom or a dad, or even somebody you don't like, so you know how to stay out their way. So it all depends, you know. I
well,
mean,
I'll just say you didn't hear it from me, but you get to get in everybody's business.
oh yeah, I have.
Everybody's
Yeah,
business.
I'm
You
I'm
get
signed up for therapy next month too.
to and you two guys can do the same thing too.
Yeah. The one thing about working with you, Miss Kimberly, it's a lot of fun. But and the way I add humor is very. But I'm dead serious about this. These cycles are inevitable cycles. That's like saying I can stop the sun from coming up. I dare you to try. I could stop the moon from setting. The sun. You cannot. It's all wishful thinking. But we all have a rising of our sun in life, a setting in our sun in life. We all do. It's just a matter of how to find your place in the sun and then follow the sun, the moon, and the stars. And that's what I'm going to do on the 21st if you join me. And you should. It's affordable, it's going to be comfortable. I will allow you to ask questions after I finish the lecture. Thank you. No interference. Okay. so that's how we'll do it. And I'm open to learn, I'm open to grow. And there's always somebody who may ask me a question that other people would know. So don't be afraid to ask questions. If everybody knew everything, you wouldn't need nobody. You'd just be all by your little self, okay? But we all need to learn. As long as I've been doing this, I'm still learning. And so what I want to do is share this learning experience so you be happier. And I have to say earlier, a lot of people now tell me, I wish I'd have known this a long time ago, how to be in the right place at the right time. Makes all the difference in the world.
And I was just going to ask you before we close, did you have anything else to say? But I think I'll go for first and let you have the closing word. And I will say that I can vouch for what you're saying. I can look back in life and I can think about the cycles I was in, and I can determine exactly what was happening during different experiences in my life. And now I look at it like, oh, wow, that's what the universe was trying to tell me.
Mm-hmm.
And now I'm in a space where I can kind of like know in advance what could happen and how to be cautious, when to plan things. And it's wonderful. I know you mentioned the Star 8 app. That's a wonderful tool for doing that as well. But What about there's a time when you don't have your phone on you and you need to know what your cycle is or something like that? You need to know how to do it or come up with it yourself. You may not be able to access your app, but it's something that you really need to do, especially at this part of the year, because now you can plan for the rest of the year. And I hope to see, because I already told you I got my seat. I see all of you there. So I'm going to let you have the closing word.
But you see, not only is this to plan for the rest of the year, it's to plan for the rest of your life, which is very important. Just as why do fish know from how to swim upstream? How do birds know when to fly from to Capistrano? How do herds of animals know when to migrate from north to south? They are in tune with nature. Well, we are a product of nature, but we as man begin to think we know everything, but we have our seasons too. We have our seasons also. And once you understand that, again, my whole objective is if so and so can be in the wrong place at the wrong time, why can't you darn it be in the right place at the right time in harmony with the universe to make your life so much easier, so much better, so much productive, and so much happier? That's all I'm saying.
So, once again, I can't thank you enough for coming
Thank
back
you.
and being our returning guest. I keep saying returning guest, but you're at home.
Yeah, I'm a regular. And
Yeah.
if people want to know about my products and services, go to linktree/numbers and you for my books, my newsletter, my audio books, and everything, my charts, and everything I have to offer. Everything is right there. My online courses, everything is right there. Linktree/numbers and you. And Miss Kimberly,
And
I
it's right
got it.
here on the banner. Um,
Yeah,
a
yeah.
star
There it is.
8.com.
That's the name. Yeah.
ASTAR, the number 8.com, and Linktree /numbers and you. Yep. I got a star 8 up here twice.
It's okay.
That's
There's nothing
that's
wrong with repeating it. Okay. I don't have a problem. Okay. You can put it up there one more time if you want to, too.
And speaking of one more time, let me show the flyer for the Power Series in case you want to click on that QR code. It's so much easier that way. You can click on the QR code, or either you can go to Linktree /numbers and you, and I have that right here for you as well. So I want to thank you, Lord, once again for coming back and sharing your wisdom and
Thanks,
all of
Kim.
this information that you shared with us today. And thank you so much.
I thank you. And let me tell you, you have so many questions, but you ask questions that relates to what I'm doing. And all I can say is thank you from the bottom of my heart. You're a wonderful, wonderful human being. And I mean that sincerely, really, truly.
You're welcome, but I didn't ask too many questions this time.
I know I was
I,
counting about
you were pleasantly surprised.
10. Questions is your middle name, you know that, right? But then again,
This,
all women got questions. Y'all can't help it.
this
Y'all
is
really
not my
can't help
best days. Mondays, Wednesdays, and Sundays.
Oh yeah, that's it. That must be the reason. So we're gonna do our interviews on Mondays and Wednesdays. So, but whether you got one question or 1,000 questions, I love questions. To me, people who question, to me, from what my parents told me, my dad is represents a mark of intelligence. And part of the problem nowadays is people don't like to ask lots of questions. And in this world of technology, you better ask questions, okay? Really, really, truly, it'll make all the difference in the world. So the more questions you ask, the more like I'm just amazed how you come up with so many questions. I say, you have another question, but then again, you're a Leo, so what they want from you.
I can't help it. I can't help it.
Very good. Keep up the good work. It makes me think. It keeps me on my toes. That I
Good. Okay, let's signing off.
bye bye everyone. And see you on Tuesday.
Tuesday.